Hello everybody and welcome to the Six Cats Aviation channel. My name's Joe. I'm a retired flight dispatcher for a major airline in North America. Today is the first of what I hope to be a very long series of videos. This one's called The Life of a Freight Dog. As you can see here, we're loaded up in Mexico City, Mexico. We're going to be taking a fairly short flight up to Torreon, which is a city in the state of Coahuila up in the north. And we're flying for Capital Logistics Virtual Airline. This is one of the focus cities, not a hub, but a focus city for the airline. And the airline flies a mixed fleet of MD-11, 747, 767, 757, and 737 aircraft types, all across the world, but mostly focused in North America and Europe. So come along with me and let's fly together as freighter pilots. Let's just jump into the flight deck. Here we are. This is the Zibbo mod for X-Plane 11. It's a cold and dark state. So let's get flying. We've got lots of cat food and Coke Zeros to deliver up to Torreon. So let's get started. First thing we're going to do is get the fuel on board, and in order to do that, we're going to hit the fuel payload. Again, this isn't meant to be a tutorial for Zibbo, but we'll go through everything together. So fuel for today's trip, based on our SimBrief flight plan, is 12.5. So we'll slap that in, 12.5. And our payload, unfortunately, the Zibbo mod doesn't have a freighter variant, so we'll just pretend. And our payload today is going to be 11,000 pounds. A pretty light load today, heading up north. Capital Logistics Virtual Airline, for those who aren't familiar with it, is it bases the payloads and everything on real-world data, uses real-world fuel prices, and it's basically an economic engine that's driving a virtual airline. It's really cool, and I'm happy to be a pilot there. So let's get loaded up and get moving. So hit back.
Ground flight deck hose is connected and starting refueling.
Perfect. And meanwhile, we can start the service and then start the flight leg, and that'll just tell Zibbo that we're starting to move. That was a cough, Joe, for when you're editing. Alright, so first thing we're going to do, we're going to get power on the airplane, arm the emergency exit lights, and we have ground power connected. Go up here and we will check everything out, make sure that it's all good to go. Perfect. Toss that on the buses, and now we have power. Cancel the master caution. And our displays have all come to life. Just what we want. Now we'll go ahead with the overhead. First things first, getting our IRSs moving. As soon as they show a line, I can throw on the yaw damper and we can keep moving on. We only got 12,000 pounds, so we only need the wing pumps because that's all that's going to be fueled up. And I don't know about you guys, but when I'm flying during the day, I like to have the lights on bright so that I can see things more clearly as we go. APU's not running, so there's no air to do, so that's fine. Let's set our pressurization. We're going to 38,000 feet, so that's already set, and our landing altitude is, I believe, 3,700. We'll double check that a little bit later. Position light steady. It's daytime, so we don't need the logo light, though it is a little bit hazy, but yeah, it is the daytime. Coming across to the MCP, again, I like to turn on the brightness. And for those of you who are wondering, yeah, I do fly with the yokes off. I do have an ultra-wide monitor, so if I have the yokes on, I can't see the screens all that well. Yeah, I don't want the floodlight. I want the panel. Perfect. So we can just come along here. Flight directors are off. Everything's good up here. And there's nothing else to do now on the main panels. So let's toss in our route here. Init ref, we're going to go back and grab the left GPS, slap that in the IRS position, and head over to route. So we're going Mike, X-ray 2.
Ground to flight deck, fuel is all loaded up and you are good to go.
And 12.5 is on board, so we are good to go. Flight number today is Capital 3131. Pop out. X-ray 3131. And we'll be going off on runway 5 left. IRSs aren't aligned, so it's not going to show up yet, but we can not have to worry about that right now. So the routing today is the Atura 2 Alpha departure to Aturo, Uniform Tango 135 to Alpha X-ray Alpha Bravo Alpha, Jet 13 to Torreon VOR, and then direct to the airport from there. So we can just slap that in right now. Alpha Tango Uniform Romeo Oscar, Alpha Tango... I see, and that's why I spell things out. T-U Romeo Oscar. And then it's Uniform Tango 135. To Exaba, Alpha X-ray Alpha Bravo Alpha. Alpha X-ray Alpha Bravo Alpha. And then Jet 13 to Torreon. Jet 13 to Tango Romeo Charlie. And at this point, I would be talking to my first officer, get him to or her to confirm the route. So I guess that'll be you. So confirm the route, activate, and we'll execute it. So now we can slap in the departure. So we're going off the Atura 2 Alpha, off of runway 5 left. Execute that. And then for the arrival into Torreon, we will leave that for now, because once we get closer, we'll grab the weather up there. Meanwhile, I can get loaded here with Avatab, a very handy add-on, and load up the Mexico City charts. Okay, so I've loaded up the 10-9 chart, which is the airport ground, and I've got the, what is this one? The 10-3 page, which is the departures. So you can see we're doing the Aturo 2 Alpha departure. So now we can just verify all the waypoints. So first thing is MX800 at or above 9, MX802 at or above 14, or at or below 14. MX803 at or above 16, 804, 805 between 22 and 26, so we'll check that, and 22 and 26. Otmal, and then Aturo below 29, and then that is verified. So that's all good to go. Close that for now. And since we've got the payload on board, we can get everything going with our perf page. Cost index for us today is going to be 16. And our reserve with our alternate airport of, which is Guadalupe, Mike India Oscar, Guadalupe Airport, is going to be, reserve is going to be 4.9. Put that in there. And our cruise altitude today is going to be 38,000 feet, 380. Winds at our top of climb, which is a useful average, I find, unless you really want to go in and slap the winds in, 234 at 4. 3, 4, diagonal 4. And then our temperature is going to be minus 52 Celsius. So that's minus 5 to Charlie. And we can execute that. Takeoff performance today, verifying it based on our SimBrief flight plan here. We're going to be doing a flap 5 departure off of Mexico City. So we will just do our usual toga. Mexico City is a very high and hot airport, so the density altitudes can be quite low. So it's always better to have extra power. So I'm going to do takeoff 26,000 pounds takeoff thrust, and then a climb 1, just to make sure we got extra power. And that's going to be flat 5. Our CFG is 23.3, so that's a 4.25 trim setting. And our V1 will be, I got the sim brief data here, it's going to be 121. Our rotate is 122. And our V2 is 129. We can accept all that. Get the trim locked in here. So it's 4.25. Alright. I'm going to pop over to Active Sky and grab the weather. Altimeter 3073, wind 0705. So yeah, we've got the right runway, 3037 for the altimeter. Perfect. We're flying offline today, as I usually do. We've got traffic global. That's all the traffic you're seeing around us that you will see. You can see the labels on the Interjet that's right ahead of us, probably. So we're going to just basically allow VNAV to take us all the way up to our cruising altitude of 38,000 feet. That's good. Engage our flight directors and engage your train. So since the IRSs are now aligned, I can do some more tests. First, I'm going to do the fire test. Didn't need to wait for the IRSs for this one, but oh well. Squibs test okay. Cargo test. Perfect. TCAS test.
Adjust vertical speed. Adjust. Climb. Climb now. Climb.
Just
climb
listing out for
now. That. Climb. Crossing. Climb. Climb. Crossing.
TCAS
climb,
test okay.
Climb.
Message.
Climb. Clear of conflict. Descend. 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 Crossing. Descend. Descend. Crossing. Descend. Descend. Descend now. Descend. Descend now. Increase climb. Increase climb. Increase descent. Increase descent. Maintain vertical speed. Maintain. Maintain vertical speed. Crossing. Maintain. Monitor vertical speed. TCAS test. Pass.
Perfect. And now we'll do the fast GPWS test.
Flight slow. Pull up. Wind shear. Wind shear. Wind shear. Terrain. Terrain. Pull up. Obstacle. Obstacle. Pull up. Airspeed low.
Perfect. So that's what we were looking for. And now we can do our before start checklist to the line. So flight deck preparation has been completed. Logbook and gear pins are on board. Oxygen and interphone, we'll just say that we've been tested. Doesn't really work that well in Zibo, but you hear the little sound. Our yaw damper is... Sorry, it takes a minute to scroll up here. Yaw damper is on. IRSs are in nav. Fuel, we've got 12.5. We are cleared with 12.5. 4 pumps on. Galley power is on. Emergency exit lights are armed. Passenger signs are irrelevant because we don't have passengers. It's a cargo flight. Our window heat is on. Hydraulics are normal. Air conditioning, pressurization. We haven't started the APU yet to save some fuel, so we've got packs off and leads on. Autopilots are disengaged. Our instruments are set. Auto brake is set to RTO. Speed brake is in the down detent. Parking brake is set. Stabilizer trim cutout switches are normal. Our wheel well fire warning's been checked. Radio transponder radar are checked or set. Rudder aileron trim is free and 0, which you can check back here. And our departure briefing is to go. So, departure briefing today. Let's pull up the Avi tab. So we're located here at cargo stand 42. We're going to push back, taxi on Charlie over to Echo 2. Turn left Echo 2, right on Bravo. Taxi Bravo all the way down to the Alpha holding, or the the Bravo holding point for runway 5 left. And then from there, 5 left will be taken off, 12,861 foot runway. on the Arturo to Bravo, which is basically straight out to Mike X-Ray 800 at or above 9,000 feet. And then 4.8 miles later, Mike X-Ray 802, 14,000 feet or below. We verified the waypoints and altitudes for this departure already, so that'll be what we're doing, climbing up to 29,000 feet. In the event of an engine failure, we will just come back and shoot the ILS onto runway 5 right in Mexico City. Threats today, it's a little bit hazy. I'm recording a YouTube video for the first time, so I'll probably forget to do something. And other than that, it's a pretty standard operating flight for Capital up to Torreon. So that's the before start checklist completed to the line. So let's get the APU started here. We did the fire check already, so that's good to go. And once we get the APU up and on buses, then we will be ready to transfer power over to the APU and get some bleed air going and then get on out of here. Meanwhile, I'll use the better pushback utility and we will pre-plan our pushback off of gate 42. We'll just push back with tail to the right.
Ground to cockpit. Canon knowledge. Coming through the menu when you are ready.
EGT's peaked on the APU, so we'll be getting the off-bus light shortly. Power's looking good. Toss that on the buses. And we'll get some bleed air going. Keeping our cat food and our cat treats and our Coke Zeros nice and cool for our flight up to Torreon. Alright. So that's been dealt with, so now we can close the doors and get on out of here. Perfect. Okay, before start, checklist below the line. Documents are not required. FMS CDU set and verified. N1 and airspeed bugs are set. TO. Doors and windows are closed and locked. And I'll just double check the overhead panel here to make sure that the ground crew have closed the doors. Yep, everything's good. Anti-collision light is on. Transponder, because this is one of those airports where you need your transponder on, I'll just flip it over to ATC. And we're good to go. So let's do some pushback.
Ground to cockpit. Tau is driving up. Okay, all doors and hatches are closed. Ready to connect.
Alright.
Tau connected and bypass being inserted. Release parking brake.
Parking brake was released, clear to push tail left, tail right.
Starting pushback, and you may start engines.
And look at that. Capital Logistics always on time, pushing back 1 minute early. 1509, 15:10's our departure time. There we go, 15:10, right on time. Okay, let's do this. So packs off, and we'll start number 2. Oil pressure, N1. %, starter cutout. And stable on number 2. We'll hold off starting number 1 just to save a little bit of fuel if we can. Capital Logistics, very environmentally friendly in terms of our fuel burning, but also we're really cheap and fuel's very expensive, so let's not burn any extra. And we'll start number 1. So we're looking for that oil pressure to come up above about 5. Got the oil pressure, and 1 above 1. We're getting close to max motoring, and fuel on. When you're at as high of altitude as Mexico City, often you won't get all the way up to that 25%, but you wait for that
Parking brake.
maximum motoring. Parking brake set, clear to disconnect.
Connecting tow. Stand by.
56%, starter cutout. Stable on number 1. Let's do our after start flows here. Alright, after start checklist, electrical generators are on, hydraulics are normal, probe heat is on, air conditioning pressurization, we got packs on, bleeds on, auto set, APU is off.
Tower is disconnected and bypass pin has been removed. And signal on the right. We'll see you next time and have a safe flight.
And start levers are in the auto detent, we'll back up our hydraulics with our number 2 page, and we close that down. And now we're just waiting for the tug driver to show us the pins, and we're good to move. Got the pin. Give him a wave. Say bye. Taxi lights on. Parking brake. And let's get moving. I'll turn on the yoke here so we can do the flight control check. Check is complete, and I'll kill that yoke so we don't have to look at it. Nice view of the wing. Say bye-bye to the tug driver as we taxi away. And so we're making this left turn here on Echo 2, and then right turn on Bravo as we briefed. drive down to the end of the runway. Goes Aero Mexico off to Mazatlan. So if you haven't been to Mexico City before, it's a really cool kind of place to fly around. Lots of volcanoes. You can barely see there in the distance Popocatépetl, which is one of the tallest mountains in the area. But this entire city is basically in a bowl surrounded by volcanoes. So hopefully we'll get a chance to see some of them as we fly north, but with the kind of cloud and the weather and the haze, we might not get a good view today. But I'm sure we will be flying through Mexico City again real soon. Meanwhile, we can watch this Aeromar ATR land on runway 5 right. Position to try to taxi into. Hope the wing walkers are on top of it. Worry about putting the wing into the terminal. Ooh, looks close. Maybe they tow it in. I wouldn't know. Today I'm a freighter pilot. Maybe if this goes well, we could do day in the life of a corporate pilot, day in the life of an airline pilot, day in the life of a regional pilot. Yeah, we'll see. You guys let me know in the comments what you think, and of course, all suggestions and everything will be taken very seriously, and let me know what you like. Again, this is the first one, so this is a big guess on my part. And yes, the audio quality will get better. I do have a mic coming on Amazon today, but didn't make it in time. And there's that Aeromar ATR. Let's see if we can see it touch down. Oof, that looked hard. Yeah, a little bit off the taxi line. Get back onto it. Okay, for our taxi fuel we had about 500 pounds, so we had 12.5, so basically anything above 12 and we are good to go. And I think we'll be more than good enough. 12.3, so we'll have a little bit extra in the tanks for anything that happens en route, just in case. Our burn to Torreon's really only 6.7 or so, so that should be all good. Hopefully we can get out of here before this Volaris lands, and after this Viva Aerobus gets moving. And they're going to Las Vegas, it looks like. And then the Volaris A321neos, or A320neos, coming in from Guadalajara. Another city that we serve out of Mexico City. Alright, let's try and get out of here. Or takeoff checklist to the line. Flaps 5, 5 planned, 5 indicating green light detent. Flight controls have been checked. Trim is at 4.25 units rather. Takeoff data checked, and we will set LNAV and VNAV. I'm gonna get out of here in time. Yeah. Right. Recall has been checked. And then below the line, flaps 5 set, auto throttle is going to be armed.
Approaching 05 left.
Cabin notification not required, our engine start switches are continuous, and our transponder is already in TIRA. Alright, everyone happy to go? I'm feeling pretty happy to go. do this.
Approaching 05 on runway 05 left.
05 left, heading lines. Thrust up. Stable. N1 heading select Toga. LNAV be never armed. Airspeed's left. Checked. Throttle hold.
V1, rotate.
Here we go.
Positive rate.
You're up. LNAV.
.400.
VNAV speed.
.1,000.
Reset direct the first waypoint. Bit of a issue here with, I don't know if it's the X-Plane nav data or if it's the Zibbo, but it doesn't like steering you directly to the N1 climb thrust. It doesn't like steering you directly to the waypoint. You gotta kind of have to hit direct. Don't know what it is about that departure. Flaps 1. Flaps up. See here off to the left the remains of the old, well, the old new airport that was going to be nice and beautiful that got canceled by the current president of Mexico because he said it was from the corruption of the former president of Mexico, so he had a new airport built where it's his corruption now, so the old guy's corruption doesn't work, but the new guy's does, so there you go. And instead of getting a really nice good airport, we get a shitty old military base airport. That's beside the point. Continuing on our departure here, keeping her going with hand flying. Speed's up to 282. No real rush to get up to that speed. We're still don't want to get up to 140 too quickly. We got to stay below it for the next waypoint. So. And I'll throw on the autopilot. Do the after takeoff items. After takeoff checklist, air conditioning and pressurization are set. AP is off, engine start switches are off, or auto I should say. Landing gear is up and off. Auto brake is off. And that's the end of the checklist. After takeoff checklist is complete. Up we go. Next one we got to be above 16,000. That should be absolutely no issue for us. Like I said, we're pretty light. Not much to see with the haze, but as we head up to the desert in Mexico and to the drier areas, I'm sure we will start seeing a lot more of the ground and a lot more scenery. So our plan for this video, or my plan for this video I should say, is we're going to get all the way up to cruise, and then after that I will jump forward to the approach and the landing. And that way you guys aren't going to be sitting here watching me fly an entire hour and 22 minutes with the autopilot on. You know, this is the life of the freight dog. You take off, you land, you fly, and cruise is hopefully going to be pretty uneventful. Now, that being said, if something eventful happens in cruise, I will be sure to bring you back in so you can watch me try to manage it. And we're almost at transition for Mexico, which is 18.5. Transition. Set standard, 2992.7. we're above 10,000 feet above the ground now, so I'll just kick off the landing lights. And we are Ruby. We're on the way. Get rid of these approach charts. Departure charts, I should say. Load up. Have that ready for when we get a little bit closer and we grab the weather before we head on down to Torreon. FMC speed, B&M path. Gotta level out at 26,000 feet to meet this altitude crossing restriction at Mike X-ray 805. You can see it here on the McDo and 26,000 feet for our climb. Level off here, let the arrivals pass over top of us. Still pretty hazy out. And let's, we've just been cleared direct Arturo, so set direct Arturo, confirm direct Arturo, execute. Double check, yeah, 5.3, we're still good. Sometimes when you do directs in the Zibbo, it, while it's doing the direct, it doubles up the route sometimes, so it shows you for a couple of seconds as having not enough reserve fuel. And hey, we're back to climbing. 29,000 feet or below at Arturo, so that's going to be our next crossing restriction. But giving us a nice little bit of a shortcut. Little shortcut, anyway. And hey, it looks like it's getting a little bit clearer out. Not quite as hazy as we move away from Mexico City. pass through this cloud layer, and I'm sure we won't see anything again. Well, maybe not. Maybe it's a little bit broken. Looks really thin, this layer. We're below minus 10, so we don't really need the engine anti-ice. It's always cool popping out of the clouds like that. Sorry about that. Cough. Okay. So for fuel on board at Otaka, we should have at least 8.5. So I think we're going to have more than enough for the time right there. Eight miles to go, we start climbing again. And 1 VNAV speed. Up we go. little bit of a tailwind. 4 knots. Yeah, I'll take it. Better than a 4-knot headwind. Alright, we're almost up at our cruise altitude, 38,000 feet, flight level 380. Alright, 370 for 380.
1,000 to go.
That plane should nicely level out for us. FMC speed, VNAV path. Cruise thrust. Alright, well here we are, level off at flight level 380. I will talk to you as we get a little bit closer to Torreon, and we'll see how the weather looks up there, what approach we're going to do. Talk to you in a bit. Okay folks, welcome back to the flight deck of Capital 3131. We are about 60-ish miles to top of descent. And we've got the weather, and I'll read it to you in just a second. But I do have the approach and everything already lined up for Torreon. It's going to be fairly interesting, so let's take a look at the weather. Right now, they're reporting winds 150 at 8, visibility is 10 statute miles, few at 2,500. Temperature's 27, dew point's 26, altimeter's 3011. You can see that I've got that preset here. So the approach we're going to be doing today, this is a fairly small airport, there's no star. So the approach we're going to do today is the VOR DME 1 to runway 13 in Torreon. So you can see we're going to be flying up to the VOR, then we're going to take the 334 radial outbound to DME of 8.0, and then we're going to join the 129 radial inbound and descend to 5,200 feet, and then from there to the 3.9 degree glide slope down to the runway. Missed approach altitude there is 4120, so I can go ahead and set that. Flip this over to Barrow, and then 4120. That's going to take a bit of scrolling to get to, so I'll see if I can find a good click spot to make this go faster. There we go. Too far. 4120. Perfect. Okay, so some things we can do is pull up the fix page. So Tango Romeo Charlie. And on this one I want to get the 334 radial in, so 334, and I want to get it at 8 miles. 334. This is just to back up the FMS, just in case anything happens to it, and then I want to have the 129 inbound at 10. 2, and then just in case anything happens, I'm going to tune in that VOR, so that's 116.4. And I'm going to tune the 129 on my side in. It's 129 inbound, wrong direction. And then the outbound radial is 334, so I'll get that tuned in on the first officer side. Perfect. And then just to be sure, I'm going to draw a 10 mile circle around the airport. And that should be good for what we're looking to do. My intent is to fly this in LNAV and VNAV until we're on final, and then use the approach mode to actually fly the approach. But just in case anything happens, we will have the raw data in as well, so we can always fly it manually if we need to. So, in terms of altitudes, we're crossing the VOR at Torreon VOR at 8,000 feet, so that's set in there. Next, we're going to be heading out to that 8 mile fix, so the TRC-08 at 6,000 feet or above. That's a nice little arc, 6,000 feet or above for that. And then our final approach fix, 5,200 feet, so I've got that coded in as a hard altitude. I have already selected flaps 30 for landing. Normally I land flaps 40, but 117 is a little too slow for this aircraft. It's not going to be happy for flying that slow, even if that's the ref speed. So 124 with 5 knot correction for the VREF, so that's in there. And we will be landing with auto brake 3, so I do have that data all punched in. The touchdown zone elevation is 3691, so I can go ahead and change that down to 700 feet or so. Just about 50 feet off of the airport elevation, just the way that things round everything. MSA-wise, we are coming in the highest sector for minimum safe altitudes. That's 12,300 feet in the direction we will be coming in from. So I will make sure when we're descending that we're not going to descend in any terrain 12,300 feet. In fact, I will put that in the altitude selection window now, so when VNAV wants to start descending, we will go down to that altitude until we're sure that we're going to clear all the terrain. 12,300. It is a nice bright day out there, so everything should be good, and now we can do the briefing. Alright, so we will be flying the VOR DME-1 runway 13, page 10-3, effective date 18 March 22. It's going to consist of us flying directly to the VOR, then we will join the 334 radial outbound to an 8-mile DME, then it's a left turn, intercepting the 129 radial inbound to the Torreon VOR at 6,000 feet or above, and then our final approach fix is 5 DME at 5,200 feet, and then from there it's a 3.09 degree glide slope into the runway. Landing on runway 13, it's a 9,000 foot runway. We'll be planning to exit at Alpha, so a little bit of braking if we require it to get off. Otherwise, we'll go to the end, turn around, and taxi on back in. Parking-wise, we'll be parking at one of the apron ramps there. We will be planning on apron 7 or apron 6, depending on how the traffic looks down that way. There's no real special notes other than there is some runway incursion hotspots at the threshold, at the intersection of 13 and 8, which shouldn't be a factor for us landing here, and then hotspot 2 at Alpha. Again, should not be too bad, but there is one of note on the apron, and that's for anyone going to the FBO. They don't want you to taxi on commercial aviation positions 1 and 2, which are these ones here. So there's a taxiway right here in the middle between Alpha 5 and 1, but they don't want you to mistake 1 or 2 as the taxiway. So that shouldn't apply to us either, so we should be good to go. Again, risks, it is going to be a very hot day down in Torreon, so the density altitude is going to be pretty high. Shouldn't be much of a factor for us. We're in a high-performance aircraft, but just to keep it in the back of our minds, if we need to do a go-around, let's make sure we do the go-around procedure properly and get the flaps and gear up as appropriate. Other risks that we have is, again, we're filming for YouTube for the first time, so again, we'll make sure we're doing all of the checklists and everything as close to the book as we can. Try not to forget anything. And speaking of checklists, let's do the descent checklist. So for us, air conditioning pressurization is set. We did double check the landing altitude. Pressurization is all good. Recall is checked. Instruments are set and cross-checked for the approach. Landing data is checked and set. It's going to be flaps 30 arrival. Auto brake will be 3, and the approach briefing is completed. So there we go. We're ready to start on down into Torreon. Looking out here, it is still pretty cloudy. It's been cloudy most of the way. Otherwise, I would have got you a little bit more of a scenic view as we were going. But, you know, clouds have started to break up a little bit. You can see some desert down there and some agriculture. We'll be landing shortly. Well, starting down shortly anyway. Just about to hit top of descent. We do have a flight ahead of us heading up to Las Vegas, so they should hopefully not be a factor. They're at 37,000 feet, so we would be descending down through their altitude, but looks like that should not be too much of a factor for us. At least one will hope. Sometimes with Traffic Global, you're not quite sure what they're doing. For example, we got an Aeromexico 907 down there, also going Mexico City to Las Vegas, but they're at 28,000 feet for some reason, doing 172 knots. So Traffic Global may be a little bit messed up sometimes. Again, does the best it can, and it's still a pretty good add-on, in my opinion. All right, let's head on down. I don't normally fly with the TSD on, but just in case you wanted to see it, that's kind of what it looks like. Zoom out a little bit. Yeah. I prefer to fly with the maps on. So we hit top of descent right before we cross this guy's wake here. And in fact, let's start down just a touch early. I kind of don't want to run into any possible late turbulence, so I'm just going to head over here, VNAV Oh, and it's already kicked into descent, so there we go. Catching the VNAV path there, so retard VNAV path. Down we go. All things considered, it's been a pretty smooth flight. Just smooth flights are what we want out here at Capital Logistics. Smooth flights, clear skies, and sometimes some sporty landings. Those can be fun too. See if we catch any wake turbulence off of this A319. I would think not, but yeah, it's always possible. There we go. And I do have to apologize, I forgot to turn off my frame rate counter, so this video will just have the frame rate counter up there in the top left corner. And I will do my best to remember for future videos to turn that off. So no need to no need to comment, but I do know that I need to fix that for next time. Well, that being said, hey, any and all comments really are welcome, so I take it back. You can comment on the frame rate counter if you want to. I just appreciate that anyone will watch this. Over the nose a little bit. Get a little bit better view of the scenery. Bit of clouds through, but I think I can see the ridge line up ahead that divides Torreon, the city, from the rest of the area. There's a bit of a ridge we'll fly over. It will be quite close to the train as we cross over it and then fly over the airport. Now that being said, because we're landing from the north instead of from the south, we will be we'll be a little bit higher than we normally would if we were going in from runway 31 instead of runway 13, because if you're flying that approach, you got to be a little bit lower to join final. Closer. And engines are going back to idle. Once we get below these clouds, then I'll drop the altitude select window down to 8,000 feet. Just want to make sure we can keep visual on that terrain. Make sure we don't do something that's not conducive to the delivery of Coke Zero and cat treats to the city of Torreon. A little bit of a weather update there. Again, I apologize if you can hear any of that coughing. Just got over being pretty sick a couple weeks ago, and I still have a bit of a dry cough. So hopefully I'll be able to edit that out, but I guess we'll see. 5 miles away from the VOR. So that means we're probably about 65 to 70 miles away from touchdown. Passing through 25,000 feet. Hopefully we'll have some nice views of Torreon and Gomez and Lerdo as we fly this approach into Torreon International Airport. Because we are going to pretty much directly overfly the bulk of that sort of Tri-City area. There we go. Transition set 3011. And then in a little bit we'll do the approach checklist. Should be crossing that ridge line. Should just be below us. Yeah, wait till we get some a little bit closer visual. Yeah, okay, there it is, down below us. So we're good to go down to 8,000 feet now. To cross the VOR. let's do the approach checklist. The altimeters are set and cross-checked, and cabin notifications not required. We're about 10,000 feet, so we can turn on the lights. And when I do that, I like to throw on the engine start switches just so that they're on, and I don't have to worry about that later. From the VOR. If this pesky cloud wasn't in the way, we would have a heck of a view right now. But that's the brakes when you're flying. Can't get away from those clouds. Much as you wish you could sometimes. To hit a decel point here. There we go, starting to bring that speed back. There. So there's the airport down there below us. It's the city of Torreon and Gomez. And Laredo's off here. And they don't have it in the total Mexico scenery, but right here is a church on this ridge, and it has the second biggest Jesus statue in the Americas, which I always drag the wife to go see every time we come home to visit her family. You get to take a nice cable car to get up to that ridge. Alright, so we're about to cross the VOR, and then our next altitude is 6,000 feet, so I'll just dial that in now. And I'm going to open the speed window, and we'll start slowing her down here. This river here marks the boundary of the states of Coahuila and Durango. Torreon's on the Coahuila side. Lerdo and Gomez Palacio are on the other side. They're on the Durango side. Flaps 5. Our next altitude 6100, so we'll just dial, or sorry, 5100. Dial that in now. And the missed approach altitude, should have checked that, so we'll double check now. We'll set 12,300 just to be safe. Minimum holding altitude is probably 8,000, but now we'll set 12.3 just to be safe.
1,000 to go.
Oh, sugar. Too late, too early, Joe. You have speed window. Yeah, that's fine. Set 160. Yes, you don't want to set the missed approach altitude before you arm the approach or get on established on the approach, or you're just going to level off. So don't make that mistake. The clouds, can we see anything? Not quite. But yeah, we will shortly. There we go. Yeah, there's the runway. Runway's in sight. Okay, gear down, flaps 15. And we'll arm the approach mode. Final approach course glide path. That's a computized glide path, obviously. And flaps 30. Now I can set that missed approach altitude. Engine start switches are continuous. Recall is checked. Spoilers armed. Green light. Landing gear down. 3 green. Flaps 30. Green light. Landing checklist is completed. And like I said, we got the runway in sight, so we're good to go. And of course, there's no landing like a landing when everyone's watching. So let's hope I don't slam her on. Make sure it's nice and stable. That everything goes well. So hey, wish me luck. Autopilot in for a bit there. Give you a nice view of the wing. And yes, this VOR approach is slightly offset, so it will end up crossing that runway path shortly, but it is a little bit offset. It's a lot more of an issue on the other side, actually, because you got to kind of visually maneuver onto final just a touch more than on this side. But nothing the pros at Capital Logistics can't handle, that's for sure.
1,000.
1,000 feet, stabilized, Mr. Perch, altitude set.
Autopilot coming off.
Approaching 13.
That's the correct runway.
Plus 100. 500. Minimum
Landing.
400. $300. $200.
It's a really nice Italian restaurant by the threshold of this runway where there's this parking lot.
100. 50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
Versus green.
knots.
Auto brake disarm.
feet remaining.
It's a pretty quick taxi in here, so let's get the AP running here. Start doing some stuff while we're still on the runway, even though that's not our usual SOP. Normally we wait until we're clear before we do any after takeoff items, but we don't have that much time here, unless we want to sit, stare at the ramp crew before they bring us in. Okay, stabilizer trim is reset, flaps are up, no lights, speed brake is down, auto brake is off, transponder radar is required, probe heat. Turn that off. Start switches are auto, APU started and on buses. That's the after landing checklist completed, so let's pull into our gate here. Gate. By gate I really mean stand. Since there is no gate for us as a cargo plane. Marshalers to guide us in, so let's pop outside, guide ourselves in. A little bit of a cheat, but hey, what real airline would actually have no marshalers to bring their planes in? Yeah, actually, that sounds like something Capital might do. Okay. definitely want to have our air conditioning going here. Alright, parking brake is set, start levers are cut off, transponder to standby. Anti-collision light is off, fasten seatbelt is not required, air conditioning is on, electric hydraulic pumps. You can flick those off now. Anti-ice is off, window heat is on, IRS selectors are as required, which we'll leave on for the next crew who are taking this plane back down to Mexico City. Alright everybody, well, thanks very much for flying with me as Capital Logistics Flight to Capital 3131 from Mexico City up to Torreon. This is my first video rather, as in the Life as a Freight Dog series. I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave me any comments you have in the description box down below. If you liked what I did, please drop a like. If you want to see more, then please subscribe and help this channel grow from its very first video on up to become another X-Plane and Aviation YouTube channel that hopefully adds some value to some people's lives, and do my best. Alright, thanks very much for coming with us, and on behalf of Capital, thanks for flying with us today. Have a great day.